Peter, in race 1 you said earlier you needed a great start, and that's exactly what you got to pass Grand Force.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it was going to be about the start here, and yeah, don't want to say too many words just in case I can't give anything away. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, that was exactly what we needed. I think pace looked really good, fastest lap, and yeah, looking into tomorrow it's going to be good.
You were closing down Matthew Rees in the middle of the race. Was it just did you, in the end, was it just backing off to save the tyres for tomorrow?
Yeah, precisely. I could not overtake. The closer I got, the worse the dirty air I got, and the more I screwed my tyres. So it made sense just to back it off a little bit, not push on, and yeah, especially with the rain coming down, a little bit of uncertainty whether we're going to have grip for the next corner. So in a championship perspective, it just didn't make sense to push on. But yeah, nevertheless, good race. It's 1 out of 4, a quarter done. But yeah, we've got to do 3 more of them.
And there was a bit of rain during the race, so did the track stay quite stable, or was there quite a dramatic decrease in grip?
There was a dramatic decrease for 1 lap, 2 laps. Just at one corner or another corner, it was quite sporadic, but it was manageable. And yeah, I think when the tyres are temperature like that, as long as there's not a lot of water to cool them down massively, we're all good. So yeah, it seemed to be fine, and yeah, luckily it didn't cause any crashes out there.
And when it is wet like that, how do you feel where the grip is?
That's a good question. I think it's that's just how you determine it, really. When you push on the car, it's how you perceive the level of grip you've got underneath you, and I think often the person that can determine it the best is the best natural driver.
And how's the car? Is it going to be fixed in time?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I mean, I haven't given my mechanics an easy job, but I'm sure they'll get it fixed in time for quali.
And how much are you enjoying this track? How do you extract the lap time?
To be honest, around here you've just got to, just absolutely send it. There's no other way of describing it. I mean, it's unlike any other track on the calendar. You've got Silverstone, you've got Spa, where you've got to be very, smooth and very precise. Whereas around here, I think, the person who's just the most bravest is, the bravest person is probably the one that's going to get the best out of it around here. So yeah.
And do you have any specific goals for this weekend at Donington?
I mean, I think at Brands we're just going to do our best, as we have done every single time. So yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is to close the gap to the top 2, but we'll see how it goes.
G9 in race 1, you had a great comeback from a bit of a lowly starting position. Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bit bittersweet, really, because I know, how good the pace we have to be right up at the front. But no, I mean, definitely stayed out of trouble, got a decent start, and then it was just, trying to pick them off, not trying to overheat my tyres, which is very easy around here because it's such kind of high speed and medium speed corners. So no, I mean, I'm very happy with how it went, but just damage limitation this weekend, really.
Of course, you made a lot of overtakes in that race, but on such a track so difficult to pass, how important is it to know when to take a risk and not take a risk?
I mean, it's extremely important. I mean, around here, as I found out, it's very easy to make a mistake, and you can, there's no room for error, so you can end up in the wall, on the grass, etc. very easily around here. So no, I mean, I kind of used my experience from last year in Ginetta Juniors. I had a similar kind of starting position where I was starting on a mid-pack at the back. So, I kind of used that experience. And then it was kind of just trying to, I guess, surprise people, spring up on them as quickly as possible before my tyres kind of dropped off. So, it was a really good race overall.
And of course, we're getting towards the end of the season. How would you assess the season so far?
I think the season so far has gone a lot better than expected. I think this year was supposed to be kind of a learning year, and then really kind of go for it for next year. But in the end, it's kind of been with a title chasing year. So it's gone a lot better than expected, and that's all thanks to the Carlin guys. No, I mean, it's gone definitely a lot better than expected. We've had a few kind of bumps in the road, such as this weekend, but no, we're definitely going to bounce back.
P6 in practice, how would you assess it? Was it a good session?
Yeah, it was a good session actually. Bit disappointed about the red flag because I was just trying to save my tyres for the end, because I went straight out on you, and they definitely didn't last 25 minutes, and it was wet, so I was just waiting for the track to come to me. And to be honest, it's very close for me to start fully attacking, but then obviously the red flag. So yeah, but we we learned what we could, and obviously just getting some more track experience around the back. I know it was still a bit wet, which was a shame, because now we're going straight into quali, first time in the JHR car properly around the back. So yeah, we'll see what that's going to be like. But I've just got a maximum attack for quali. So.
And you drove here last year in F4. How do you make up the lap time here?
Well, it's all about being smooth and just staying with the flow. There's not a lot of heavy braking zones here, only turn 2, so then everything else is, kind of a lighter brake. So, yeah, it's all about just keeping the momentum, and especially around the back, the quick stuff is really important. So, yeah.
And there's a couple of rounds to go now. How would you assess the season so far? And do you have any specific goals for this round and Donington?
My goals are just to maximise my car and keep improving myself. I think it doesn't matter what car you're in, you've always got to just take it as an opportunity to improve yourself, whether that means you're going to be P15, P5 or P1. Just always improve yourself and try and maximise the car. Obviously no one's going to maximise the car to 100%, no one does that, but getting as close as possible is that's the goal. So.
Peter, in practice it's quite a cold morning, so how was the track out there?
It was a bit damp, to be honest. There were some parts over the GP layout that they were a bit cold and wet, but yeah, overall I think it was just settling a rhythm and just wait to keep the track drying out and just keep driving and consistently improve.
And you tested yesterday on the Indy layout, the short circuit. How much could you learn from that?
Well, Sector 1 is really important there because it's the same as the one we have today. But yeah, overall I think I wasn't very happy that we didn't have the chance to drive the whole GP track for a day. But yeah, it is what it is.
And what are you, P10 in quali, or what can you do in the race from there?
Yeah, well, from P10 is it's a bit difficult around this track. I think overtaking is not really possible. So I think we'll have to try and manage to do something special and start to gain a lot of places in the start. I think this is my main opportunity, and from there on just see if they make mistakes in front and can get them.
And how do you really force the driver in front to make a mistake? Just moving around in the mirrors, or how do you?
Well, just keeping the pressure behind, following really closely, so they get a bit nervous if you do that, and they'll end up doing a mistake.
And how much have you learned with Carlin over the course of the season?
Well, I think they help you develop quite a lot, understand things, and yeah, I think it's a very big team with a lot of experience, so it's good to have those people behind to make you a better driver.
Just as practice, of course, you're leading the championship. Is it a good start to the weekend? Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, we had a full test day here last weekend, and we played. That was pretty good. We were quickest by like 2.5 tenths, I think. And now this morning was quite wet on half the track, so we went out on used tires. But yeah, I think a lot of guys went out on new from the beginning, but then we changed to new, and then the red flag came out, so didn't get a chance on the new tire. But yeah, looking good for qualifying.
And you raced it in F4 last year, so how much has that helped you this weekend?
Well, sort of gets you into the rhythm a bit quicker, especially around the GP track that you can't drive as much as you can on the other tracks. So just, yeah, a lot easier to get into the rhythm, and yeah, it helps a bit.
And with 2 rounds to go, are you thinking about the championship, or is it just one race at a time?
Well, for now it's just going to be about finishing the race, because it's a big point difference between the DNF and finishing first, for example. Like 35 points it's almost impossible to catch up, so it's going to be important to finish the races, but at the same time, of course, I want to win as well, so just going to go for it now. So.
Peter, in quali, you just missed out on pole, but you're ahead of Browning, so is it a decent session?
Yeah, it was a lot of red flag that interrupted us with this tire strategy, but yeah, it worked out well towards the end. I think also those other guys also had the same issue as us with the red flags, but yeah, it's going to be P2 in the first race due to Leban's 5-place grid penalty for Silverstones.
And how difficult is it to stay focused in the red flag period?
Sorry, how?
How difficult is it to stay focused in the red flag period?
Well, if it's just one red flag, it's usually no issue, but then, just red flag, did an outlap, and that was red again, so I was like, okay, so now I gotta refocus another time. So yeah, the more red flags, it's gonna be harder to focus. But yeah, I think I kept my head down pretty well, and yeah.
And it's quite a narrow circuit here, so how important is the start and how tricky is the car to get off the line?
Yeah, I mean, just start's gonna be important. It's tough track to overtake, and just we have seen now and in practice as well that one simple mistake can just cost you so much. You just need to go wide with a tire width, and that's it. Because especially on the backside, it was turning all the time, so you don't have time to save it. We saw with Voisin now when he crashed out. Yeah, just gotta keep on the track, score some good points.
And there's gravel on the outside of turn 1. How much does that change your psychology compared to the tarmac runoff?
Well, I mean, if it's tarmac runoff or like Spa into Le Combs, you can just send it in. It doesn't really matter if you push you off or not. But I think the Clockwork course made it pretty clear that you need to leave space on the outside. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully I can just get a better start off and be ahead of him going into turn 1. That would be the optimal thing. But if not, then we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, thanks so much. In race 1, it looked quite lonely out there, but how can you build on the podium for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, started P2 and just got a poor start off the line, and Luke and Bennett just passed me going down to turn 1. And then they started scrapping it out going down to turn 2, so I just used that to my advantage and overtook Bennett. And then it was close between me and Luke. I think it was 3 turns in a row, we were side by side. So just tried to go around the outside in turn 3, but I knew it was just going to push me off if I stayed there. So backed out and went for a good exit, and I think I got a decent exit. He had to defend it into the next one, and then it was just the same thing again. He got a poor exit, I got a good one, and then we're side by side into turn 5. Yeah, turn 5. But and after that, I knew it was just gonna be tough to overtake. I needed him to do a massive mistake to get by, especially with like Luke and Reese. I know we're like equally quick, I would say. So it's tough to overtake around this track. You really need someone to make a huge mistake. So I knew the chances were low, so I just backed up, saved the tires as much as possible for race 3, and took home some points.
And of course, you've been fighting Luke Browning throughout the course of the season. How much have you enjoyed fighting him on track or in the championship too?
Yeah, I mean, Luke's a great guy. We're good friends as well. It's not like the huge rivalry between us off the track as well. It's more just on the track, and then off the track we're good mates. But yeah, it's also fun to do it with someone like Luke, who's very experienced. He knows what he's doing. He knows when to take risk and when not to. He's done this before. I think he won the British F4 2020. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. And then he did some races in the GB3 championship last year as well. So it's good to fight against this experienced guy. Trying to learn from them, because it's been a good year so far. So.
And what are you expecting tomorrow? Of course, there's the reverse grid and then race 3. So what are you expecting?
Well, for race 2, starting P3 and just hoping not to get wheel spin this time, because I just get too much wheel spin in the start. So just get a better start off the line. Just try and make a couple positions up. I know it might even better to start down on the low side, just because that's where everyone is driving, so the track is a lot hotter down there. So just try and make a good start off the line, and like I said, just not risk too much, but of course you want to go for it. Just trying to finish ahead of Luke and extend that lead. And in the last one, the reverse, I don't think it's gonna be any problems. We've been pretty good in those ones before, so I don't see why it would stop now. So.
Of course, on the pit straight, the track isn't exactly flat. So does the side you start on make a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're like the reverse one, I think it's going to be a huge difference if you start on the left side, because that's so far back that no one's really driving up there. So that's going to be a really cold side. And the people start down on the right side, it's going to have a much better, just it's going to be a lot easier for them to get a good start off the line, because much more grip there. Much more, just everything there. So.
Okay. P4 in race 1, how would you sum things up?
Yeah, really happy. My best result of the season so far. Had a couple of P5s, but yeah, P4 really happy. Start was really good, 4th into 2nd, but then just got stuck behind Browning and dropped back to 4th. But held on for the race, and Chris Lulu was giving me a lot of pressure from behind. But good race and happy with it.
And there was some rain during the race, so what was that like? Was there a big decrease in grip, or did the track stay quite stable?
Well, the grip actually stayed fine. Actually, it was it was the rain where you can see it, but not enough to actually affect it. But so just had to keep pushing through it and not pay attention to it. But, yeah.
And how can you build on the P4 for tomorrow?
Yeah, well, hopefully get another good start. I'll be starting 5th tomorrow, but yeah, still like trying to hunt down that podium. So, but yeah, good race.
So you finished P9 in practice. How was the track out there? Was it quite cold?
Yeah, not too representative, I don't think. Very, very treacherous out the back. Risk to reward didn't really make sense, especially the session before qualifying. So yeah, it was more just bedding in brakes for me that session, and bringing the car home in one piece. With it being a wet Brands GP, the walls are quite close, and yeah, probably not worth quite whacking in the barriers.
Of course, you raced here previously in British F4. How much has that helped you this weekend?
I think obviously you don't get a lot of running around the Brands GP. It's a couple of years ago now, so I had to refresh my memory, but yeah, I think obviously racing around here before is definitely an advantage, and hopefully we carry it into qualifying.
And how are you feeling with 2 rounds to go? Are you thinking about the championship, or is it just one race at a time?
No, yeah, we're thinking about the championship. This is championship now. Got to finish ahead of Joel every race. That's it.
P4 in quality, just behind Grand Fours, but you can still get some good points in the races.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a scrap through turn 1. Yeah, it's going to be good fun. I think qualifying I got blocked to my fastest lap, unfortunately, but yeah, not such a bad qualifying. Where it's very close, and yeah, we'll see where we end up.
Of course, Brands Hatch is very narrow. Is it just all about the start to make up the places?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty impossible to overtake around here. Even feeling it, even getting a little bit of dirty air in qualifying, it was like, oh my, you really do drop back. So yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult to overtake, but yeah, the first lap should be exciting.
There are a couple of guys on the outside of paddock really bottoming out on the curb. Is that a factor in the setup?
I think every car's running quite low around here, and yeah, when you make a mistake and go over the curb, you're going to bottom out, and yeah, that's the nature of a single-seater car.
And is it just all about beating Grand Fours now, or is it, of course, the win? You're looking at the win, but you're just all about beating Grand Fours the main target? Yeah,
the main target's been the championship. We've got 6 races left and an 11-point gap, so it's time to close that down, and yeah, just think smart.
So you just finished practice. It looked quite cold out there, but how was it?
Yeah, I had a slight mechanical issue, so didn't get many laps. Yeah, tricky conditions, pretty damp. Obviously very high risk before qualifying, only an hour left now, so not much time to fix stuff if it goes wrong. So yeah, just trying to play it smart, I guess, and we'll see how qualifying goes.
And have you done any sim racing earlier this week to help you prepare? How much has that helped you?
For sure, yeah, I've done a lot on the sim, on iRacing. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I feel like I know the track pretty well, and obviously we were testing here last week, so that helps. But yeah, it's been good.
And you tested on the Indy circuit, the short circuit yesterday. How much could you learn from that?
It's a bit tricky. I mean, it's obviously really short, 42 seconds, so it's a bit of a different mindset, I guess. And I mean, you get the first 3 corners are alike, but yeah, the GP thing's a whole different animal, so it's a bit tricky.
And do you have any specific goals for qualifying?
Top 5 would be good. As long as you're up front. I think a few have grid place penalties, so they'll fall back. So yeah, that's the goal.
So how would you assess practice? Of course, it was quite cold, so was the track not so grippy?
Yeah, it was really tricky because it was a bit wet as well around the back, because obviously it rained quite a bit yesterday. So around the back you have to take a bit of caution. And also it's first practice in the morning, so it doesn't really count for anything. So there was a lot more time in it if I pushed a bit harder, but again, it's just first practice, so I didn't really want to risk it and wreck the car before quality.
And how were the tyres out there? Could you push for a few laps in a row, or was it quite? Were they quite fragile?
It was a little bit difficult to tell because the track was evolving so much, because as cars go around it dries the circuit up. So the tyres may have been getting a little bit worse, but the track was getting better, so it sort of balances it out. If it was completely dry, then it would be the first few laps your fastest, but as the track was a little bit damp and it was evolving a lot, it was difficult to tell. But yeah, it was getting quicker and quicker.
And what are you expecting later on in qualifying in the race?
I'm just going to give it everything I got. Hope for a good result. I'm aiming for maybe top 5. That'd be nice. Just closing out the season, I want to give it everything. Got nothing to lose, so I'm just going to completely go at it. Have some fun.
Drove qualifying earlier. What happened out there?
Yeah, very difficult session for me. I hadn't done any of the testing that the rest of the field had done. I've just started a job with Aston Martin F1, so I've been working really hard there and haven't had the time to come over and do any of the testing. so I haven't driven a race car since the last round at Silverstone. It was really just getting back into it for me. I was well off of where I'd hoped to be, but not really where I expected to be, because it's just, it's so competitive out there. If you don't do the testing, you can't expect that much of yourself.
And how would you assess the season so far? Of course, we're getting close to the end of the season, but how would you assess it?
Yeah, it's been a good season for me up until this point. A couple of pole positions, couple of race wins, and a few fastest laps as well. So I'm really pleased with how it's gone up to this point.
Of course, you recently joined Aston Martin as a trackside support engineer. How much are you enjoying that, and what do you get up to day to day?
I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. It's everything I'd hoped for to be working in F1 and more. The guys and girls that I work with are great fun, and it's long hours, a lot of hard work, but you know what? It's absolutely worth it. And to be supporting the cars over the race weekend is just the coolest thing ever. I really, really love it.
And are you going to go into any Grand Prix later this year or next year?
I'll have to see about that. As it stands, my job is sort of trackside support, so supporting from the factory the people that are trackside. But if the opportunity ever arises, I'd love to be able to go trackside one day.